We are now training organizations whether we like it or not. So and Chris hears me say this all the time, we all have to learn to do less better. We have to decide, I'm not going to come up with a way to train or develop our future workforce. There's things that Chris knows about employing people and motivating people that I don't know. But what I need to do is say, you know what? I need to have a program within my organization that I finance through my annual budget to train, move, inspire, get experiences for these people that I have decided are the right people to join the organization. And then I have to decide, how many of those people do I have the capacity to do that with? And that is, I don't know, a human capital supply chain problem, right?
Well, I mean, you go from city to city with your client events, right? And your labor plan is really, I'm demanding quality by using the unemployables, right? I mean, that is the case in a lot of markets, right? If you're in a city like Las Vegas or Orlando, right, where there is a high volume of event activity, you see the collective talent of the workforce rise because you can keep them busy, 312 days a year or
Right.
293. But when you're in secondary markets or in remoter locations, right, and you're, and your labor plan is, hey, bring a friend to work day, right, and yet your brand side client is often there going, why is this taking so long? Or, I mean, anyway, that's in the event business. And I know most of our listeners get this, right? That's a thing you run up against, depending on where you're at. And jurisdictionally, right, there's cities that if we sign a union contract and we have 7 or 8, right, there's things you can do and there's things you can't do. Well, how come you could do this in Orlando, right? And by the way, then you're bringing in a bunch of new outsiders to your company who there's a whole learning curve of them understanding that. So, I mean, that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, Michael, is when you've obviously got your training and your onboarding for anybody, but for new people not from the industry, do you spend much time educating them on what I'll call industry training and not necessarily Hill and Partners process training?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we're going to revamp our. So we have a thing here called H&P University that we started in 2011, and if I'm going to be perfectly honest, it's been a bumbling sort of thing over the years, because just as you figure something out, it becomes, in this day and age, it actually becomes obsolete. Not the principles of business and the way to interact with people. I think nothing's changed there, right? It's technology, it's how people learn, it's how they absorb information that has changed so much. And usually a business that isn't in the training business, right? We're in, we create spaces and places completely about our clients' brands. Nothing in our statement says, while we're training our people to do it, but we've never been in a situation where we're flying. I mean, my company, we fly a pretty well-appointed, well-designed aircraft that we're rebuilding. You know what I mean? So the expectation with our customers is, are you the same as you've always been? And that was the promise we wanted to deliver on post-COVID. We have completely different people. So we had to come up with a strategy. You can almost think of sports. If you don't have the star player that can go one-on-one with their star player, you have to come up with a way to manage that experience on game day and be successful. I would say their star player is an experienced person who has a high expectation. That's a brand manager, a senior marketing manager, the CMO, the sales director. We serve clients, and those clients, they have brands and expectations. If I don't give them the team that is an extension of their own team, which is what we promise, our people become your people. If I don't give them that, then I'm in trouble. So how do I give it to them? I actually have to invest in more people and more touches in the transaction, so they don't make their decision on a single interaction. And I have less. So if Chris and I work together, he's not going to make a mistake in front of a seasoned professional on any subject in our industry. And he also has earned the respect in our industry to choose which information to focus on in that dialogue. That takes experience, which you cannot Google. And by the way, you cannot train it in 90 days. So our training program here, which is H&P University, we have decided to do less better. We have literally mapped out the first 90 days of employment with our people as if we were teaching them to be fry cooks in a restaurant. It's that simple. And we have reduced the activity that they have to execute or be able to execute at the end of 90 days to be a measurable contribution to the work we do. So instead of wanting to infuse them in a shorter period of time with all the insights and understanding about the industry, which is impossible, right? We have decided, wow, we have to teach this person how to make a timeline. We have to teach them the impact of a calendar, of holidays, of demand, of PTO liability, of client holidays, of client industry. We have to teach them all those nuances of creating a timeline that is part of what you do when we say a time, you need to make a 3-month timeline. We need to teach them that the 3-month timeline can be 4.5 months if they see all the minefield, right? So, and at the end of 90 days, what we want to say is, do they know how to have they learned how to estimate projects? Have they learned the verbiage within our industry? Do they know what it means? Have we got them out to a show, and who walked around with them? Because I believe in tribes. If you walk around with a salesperson, you get the salesperson's perspective. If you walk around with a salesperson, then a project manager, and then a designer in one day, you'll get a lot of information. Then we have to mine that information for what actually stuck.